Okay, Rabbi Sai Simin Shin Yutas.
Oh, Shin Yutas.
Simin Shin Yutas. Hilchos Din Habayrer b'Shabbos Aboy Chav Tes Ifim. Whoever's learning is learning Mamash Shema. There's no $5,000 raffles. There's no trips to Israel. So then Taita.
Today starting with Hilchos Shabbos. You did a seam when the first Kaptaram
They learn the Taita that we're learning since Matan Taita. Okay, so the halacha is like this: Habeider who may aves malacha simin shin yutas. Shin yutas. Yeah, right here.
Top Kuf Mem.
Yeah, excellent. Top page, top Kuf Mem. Habeider who Rabbi say you with me? Habeider who may aves malachis shekain and the 39 malachis shekain mishkan hayubeidim hapseilis mitei chasamamonim. They would make various dyes in the Mishkan, samamonim, that they made to use to make the various curtains in the Mishkan and the various begadim. They had to take out the psoilus. One of the avodas was to remove the psoilus, the bad parts, from the samamonim, from the dyes. Therefore, call habeider psoilus miteicha oichel. Anyone who removes psoilus from food, afilu b'yodei achas, even with one hand, afilu kedelech al alter, even if you're going to eat it right away. But since you took the psoilus, not the oichel, chayev, you're chayev a chatos, bring a carbon chatos, because if you did a iser iser min ha'toira, a meleches beider.
Why do they specify beyad oichel? What's the difference if you take with the two hands or one hand?
It's
A good question. It's a good question. It seems that when you're doing with two hands, it looks more like a malacha, like a more serious work.
We usually do it.
One hand, you might think it's okay. You also might think because you're eating it right away, alter, I'm doing it right away. I'm not doing it for afterwards. So it's not like a malacha because I need it right now. I want to eat right now. So mullah looks like derech achila. No, that's still derech malacha because you took the psoilus leichel.
What would be an example?
If you do it with the shino.
What would be an example? If you had a bowl of soup,
Right.
in the bowl of soup you see a little tiny hair. You take out the hair. Because you want to eat the soup. So you're a better psoilus with one hand, right? Kedelech al alter, chayev.
What are supposed to
Same thing on your plate. You have various things in your plate.
How else are we going to eat the soup if I don't want to eat air?
That's a good question. What should you do?
You go around it.
There's a way.
Yeah, there's a way.
Oh, you pour it out
Speak.
slowly.
It's one way.
With good food. So I'm not boiler. I'm taking good food with it, so I'm not boiler.
I want to get into now because we're going to get into later. I'm just going to tell you over a story. I think we spoke about this maybe once. I'm not sure. It was the Imre Emes, the Gerer Rebbe, the Zayda of the Gerer Rebbe and the Gerer Sheshiva. So when the Imre Emes was in Ger, near Varsha in Poland. So I heard from someone, a Yid, Langezont, Alter Yid, his uncle was a Gerer Chassid, was in Ger, and he was eating by the Rebbe's house for a Shabbos Suda. Or he was there, he was standing by the side, and he saw how the Rebbe, the Imre Emes was served the soup. There was some type of psoilus, some particle, something in there that wasn't good in the soup. And everyone was watching, what's the Rebbe going to do? How is he going to get rid of it? And Befrat, like Omer Hashem will discuss in the further Shiurim, the Shita of the Alter Rebbe, Shita's Harav, Alter Rebbe is very machmer with these dinim.
So it's a whole.
So how is he going to take it out according to the Alter Rebbe's opinion? So Elam was watching, and the Imam is very quickly put his spoon underneath the psilus, but he didn't lift it out. Then he took the bowl with the other hand, and he lifted up the bowl while his hand was underneath the psilus inside the soup, and he moved it up. When his hand was in the soup bowl was in the air, he pulled the soup down. He took the oichel
Oh,
psilus. Not saying you could always try this at home, but I'm just saying.
How we picked
But
up
he
your
did it
own
very
house?
quickly. He did it right away, and in this way he was
Very
yoitza,
hard.
even the
Yeah,
Alter Rebbe's
so-
opinion
So,
and all the
like
shit.
this.
So this is a Maisa Pella,
And-
and I heard it from a Yid
Yeah.
who,
It was there, but they didn't.
no, his uncle.
Hmm.
The uncle Nachum Rothstein was he later lived in Montreal, and he was there at the Sod of Shas this happened. I later on saw that some other svarim saying over this story about the Imramis.
Because if we would have moved the solid to the corner, let's say, and then spill, then he's taking out solid into Hocher.
No, that would have also been a good option, but it's hard to do that with the soup. It's a whole mess, and you're gonna lose it. It's not so easy to
How
do
we
it.
pick up in one hand?
It's
the whole
okay,
soup?
but-
Soup.
Huh?
How we pick
Not the
up?
pot, the bowl.
Look,
Oh, only the
Yes.
bowl. Oh, the bowl.
the spoon is still inside.
Okay,
So
okay,
now
the bowl,
take-
not
He
the-
didn't move that spoon at all. I mean, so he didn't touch it all. He put it there, and he didn't move his hands from there.
You took out the soup. You're taking out Hocher, solid, not
This
solid.
is very massive for get
That's
the
all this.
the charifas, to such a chachma to do such a thing. Very typical of Kotzkin and get it.
But if for someone is mouse, are you allowed to throw the whole bowl, not baltashri? I cannot eat anymore from this bowl because I saw something.
Nah, it's mouse.
It's a problem. It's mouse,
Right, it's not batash.
not baltashri.
If someone else wants to eat it, you can give it to someone else.
Nobody eat it.
You don't have to force yourself to eat it.
What if one-
Okay. Right, we have a long sif over here. Avol. So again, if we take psoilis from oichel, it's a problem. Even you're not doing it with a special
It's called boil.
boiler keli. You're not even doing it with two hands, doing it with one hand. And you're not doing it for la'acher zman, where it looks like it's a malacha, like I'm preparing a lot. Looks like I'm trying to eat. I'm right about to eat la'alter. Afal pikein. If you take the psoilis, you're chayiv for boiler. Weiter, on the top of page Tov Kuf Mem Aleph. Aval habeir oichel mitoich hapsoilis. Someone who takes oichel from psoilis, you take what you want to eat, and you leave behind the psoilis. Kedei lechel alter, to eat it right away. Eine chayiv, you're not chayiv.
Right.
However, there are times that you could be chayiv, even if you take oichel mitoich psoilis kedei lechel alter. You could still be chayiv. When? Ellen came boider b'nafa b'kvara. If you use proper sifters, proper sieve and sifters, shezehu derech b'rei rasei. That is a derech how to be boider with such type of kalim, various utensils that are used for boider.
Even though you want to eat.
Even though you're only taking the oichel, the way how you use this keli is that you take out the oichel and
And you leave the.
Silas, and you're doing it to eat right now. You're about to have the meal,
Because you use the right tools.
but you use these things, you're also chayiv. Aval, however, in birer b'knoin itamchoy potem min hatoyra of osem midivei seifim gezeira mishom nafa u kvar. However, if you use other utensils which are not exactly the regular methods to do better, for example, a knoin is a funnel. You have a funnel. When you put something in the funnel, so the rocks and the various things will go down through the funnel, and the wheat, let's say, will stay on the top of the funnel. But that is not a regular keli for beiter. As well, a tamchoy, a plate, a large plate, which when you put on the plate, you put it on it. So moving it around, so the pesilas will fall off the sides of the plate. Those are only aser midrabanan using these kelim. It's a gzeira because if you do these kalim, you'll come to use proper kalim. Enough or kvara, which that's better. Now, so far we learned. Let's just read another line. If you talk with your hands, you did breira, you took the food. Kedei lechel alter, to eat it right away, mutter. Netilas ha'oichel miteicha psoilas, removing oichel from psoilas. Kedei lechel miyad, ein ze me'ein melocha klal. Shederech achila kach hu. This is the normal way to do achila. You can't eat everything. The oichel the psoilas, you can't eat it. It's not good. Torah said if you're taking the oichel and you're doing it miyad, it would only be aser if you're also doing a nafel kvara. Taking psoilas is not a derech achila. Derech tikkun oichel shirei lechila. And when you're not taking the oichel, you're leaving the oichel on the table. You're pulling out all the psoilas, moving it away. That's called derech malacha. You're preparing the food shirei lechila. Hareizu malacha kbura. Therefore, afilu ma'oichel merubal psoilas. Even if the food is more than the psoilas. Not only that, there's more of a tircha to take out the psoilas, the oichel from the psoilas, because the oichel, let's say, is tinier than the psoilas, tinier pieces. So it's much easier for you to take out the psoilas. I'd rather take out the psoilas, remove it all, and then I'll have my oichel all clean. Still in all, should not remove the psoilas, even if you want to eat it right away. Never remove the psoilas. So kumtais, how many tanoim of Borer did we learn so far, if I say? Make it a little clear. Two clear tanoim. One is that you have to always take the oichel, the good from the bad, from the psoilas. And the second thing is that you can't use a special kalim, special unique kalim that are meant for Borer, like a sieve and a sifter. Other kalim, like a kanoina tampe, a plate, special plate, and a funnel, those are not standard kli Borer, those are only asim d'rabbanan. They have two clear tanoim, has to be the oichel from the psoilas, and no special kalims.
When you eat herring and Shabbos, and you have
like a slotted spoon, for example, by the way. A slotted spoon is meant to be Borer.
Right.
So if you take a slotted spoon to take out your cholent, there's still a problem.
Even though you're not mechavan to psolet or this, you just take.
If you're not mechavan at all, maybe it's okay. If you're not meskavan at all, because that you just grab something that's nearby to use it. But if you're doing it dafka because you want to drain out all the liquid from the potato or the meat that you're taking, it's an issue. Because that slotted spoon is meant for Borer, not only midrabanan, possibly min HaTorah.
But you're not boiling psolet, you're boiling ochel and ochel.
Each one of them are for itself a problem. Like that's what we're learning. That in the top of the page we said aval Borer oichel matech psoilas deilachal alter in enechayev. Ba ela came Borer but nothing kvara. Then even when you're taking the oichel from the psoilas, it's still a problem.
That's we're talking about when you get in the same pot, psolet and ochel. Here, but shont, everything is ochel.
So that's a good question. So we didn't learn about that yet. But in Siv Dalad, we're going to learn that even foods that you don't want to eat is also considered psoilas.
Oh, once you don't want it, then you made it psolet.
Yes.
Because you boil it.
Yes. It's considered it's subjective,
Yeah, but you put it on your plate. So on your
Subjective.
plate, don't eat.
So the slotted spoon is a common misconception, and it's an issue. And if your kavanah is to be Borer, it's a problem. If your kavanah is not to be Borer, then there are some poskim that want to be mekel. you're just using it because it's a nice big spoon or it looks nice and the balabasta wants to use it, there are, I think, some paiskim which are maker with it. Although,
Better to take a regular spoon.
better to take a regular spoon.
And if you,
Answer my question.
Ah.
I have another question.
Ah.
You had carrots and you played and you don't want the carrots but the piece, and so that part you don't want it.
Yes, you have to take what you want to eat.
But my other question is, let's say you have a bowl of a luncheon, a soup. Are you allowed to eat the luncheon with a fork and leave out the soup?
It's a good question.
But you'll leave the soup,
Boys can
the
say
luncheon,
that a fork and a spoon is an extension of your hand. You don't want to get your hands dirty,
So
so you use a spoon and a fork.
So is the slatted spoon.
No, I'm talking about a slotted serving spoon that you use.
I know a slatted spoon is
The serving spoon. True, but over here, by a spoon and a fork are not meant to do butter. Slotted spoon was created.
If you can go into a soup, just take the luncheon without the soup. That's what the spoon is take together. Now you're separating the
It's
liquid.
true. It's a good point. It's a very good point. But Lamaisa, the fork was not made for that. The fork was made to just be able to prong into your food and to get it stuck on. It wasn't meant. It's not a keli for butter.
So you're allowed to take out the luncheon and eat the luncheon.
If you're eating the luncheon, yes.
Because the luncheon
It's
will
not bad from good.
Oichel, yeah.
It's
I'm
good
eating
from good.
a plate of
Both of
fish.
them good, the soup and the
The
lunch.
fish has a skin on it. I don't want to eat the skin. The skin
No,
is like
Borer.
garbage. Or the bone, I don't want to eat the bones. And I want to eat it in Shabbos. What I do? It's a complicated one.
So you're definitely allowed to remove the skin. The question is why you're allowed. The question is why you're allowed to.
Taking salit b'tochacha.
Very good, Shaila. Let's go further. How you allowed to peel an egg on Shabbos and a banana?
Okay. Taking salit b'tochacha.
So
There's no other way to eat it.
That's
because it's-
true.
no other way, right? So no other way. But the question is why? Why is it mutter then? You're taking psilus from Eichel. That's a machlekes. That's the Prima Godim understands, and some other poskim understand that whenever it's impossible to get to the food any other way, there's no isser of taking the psilus. To peel a banana.
And the peels from the orange, you can say also because you can use it as fertilizer for the plant.
We have our pharmacist over here on hand.
Shkoyach, let's see.
The
But it's not necessarily.
I think in Shinva, the Alter Rebbe speaks about nuts, specific types of nuts like pistachios, and how there's no other way you can eat it besides for opening it. But still, it's
I don't think it's in Shinvavi talks about it.
maybe it's not Shinva.
Maybe in Shinches, maybe a Muksa or in the
Alright.
Siddur. In the Siddur, I think
The siddur would be more up to date.
right. So the Prima Godim and other poskim understand that the heter. It's clear in the Ramah, not in our Simin. Our Simin mentioned it Derech Agav, but in Simin Shin Chaf Aleph, the very last Ramah, in the Simin, Ramah writes that you're allowed to peel fruits and vegetables if you do it right before you're about to eat it. When it's mutter. So for example, if you want to prepare for the Shalosh Shuddis, let's say after you finish your Shabbos meal, or before your Shabbos Suda, you peel a lot of fruits and vegetables, and then you peel extra because you want for Shalosh Shuddis also. The problem, because you're doing a malacha, a boider, for later on. You have to do it only when you want to eat it right away. That's the third Tanai, which is Siv Beis. V'chein haboider oichel mitoich hapsoilus in Siv Beis, shaloi lechal alter. Even if you do take oichel from psoilus,
Has to be low.
and even if you don't use a special kli breda, if you're doing it not to eat right away, el lahanichoy la'ochel la'acher zman, afilu boy bayoim, nasa kibeir loitzer v'chayov. Ish l'shayich kan loimer derech achilo kachu, Even shene oichel alter. You can't say this is derech achila if you're not eating it now. You're doing it later. Derech achila is now you want to eat it. So preparing for later is considered the same idea as preparing to put in storage, put away. That's derech malacha, not derech achila, and it's part of the. So that's the third Tanai Breda that it has to be eaten la'alter. We'll discuss soon what that means, but it has to be right away. So now we have a conclusion. This all comes from a Gemara and Perek Klal Gadol, Daf Ayin Daled, I think it is. Ayin Daled Amud Aleph, and the Gemara goes through a whole Amud there on Borer, Amud and a little bit just on Borer, and the Gemara explains these three conditions come out from the Gemara. You need to have taking the oichel from the psilus, the good from the bad. You need to be doing it biyade with your hand and not with a keli. The third tonight should be eaten la'alter, not la'achazman. If you're missing any one of these tanoim, then it's the ism and atoyah.
We had Zig Challah, the Shabbos morning, you're cutting, and you know you're only going to eat, let's say, a third of it. Are you allowed to cut the whole thing knowing the rest of the slice will be for Shalom Shabbat? Do you have to wait till Shalom Shabbat to cut the rest?
It's a good question, but over there, you're not being boider. So you're just cutting it.
You're preparing, you're making hachana.
A good shaila, but since the hachana is for boy by yoim, you're allowed, but you're not allowed to do hachana for choil. If you cut extra because tomorrow will be a problem. You're cutting extra because you want by shalosh shudas, okay. Even if you left over l'poil that was left over, it's okay, because your kavanah was to eat it by shalosh shudas. Maybe by shalosh shudas you weren't that hungry, you left over, it's okay.
This is on Shabbos.
Right, but it's not a boider shaila, it's a hachana shaila. Yes.
I was thinking in Aleph it speaks about Ma'alter, so that's why Bez I guess goes into it.
Beis and Gimel. And Gimel we're going to discuss more. What does it mean la'alter? Sif Gimel. Eine kari la'alter ela samoch l'seuda mamish. The Alter Rebbe here clarifies, based on the Rishonim, the Poskim, that la'alter means, what the Gemara says la'alter, that it has to be done right away. The Gemara brings the name of Abaya. Has to be la'alter. It means samoch l'seuda mamish, right before the suda. Avon lo yoichel ad la'achar shah also. If you're not going to eat till la'achar shah, after a while, it's a problem. It's asur. Hakol shu samach l'seuda motor livrer l'tzoyrich kol oisa soda. Anything you need for that meal, you're allowed. You're having a long meal. You like to sit in your meal for a few hours. You can be better before that soda. Everything you need for that soda. Half of bishi to Moshe Chezazman. Vafilu acheidim is suben imoy. What delivered tzedekulam? I have a lot of guests. Does everyone have to do it for themselves? Says no. You're allowed to be better for everyone at the table. Beiter va'oichel, the Gemara says, the Braisa says, or beiter umeniach. Tois explains, beiter umeniach means l'tzorech hachedim. You're allowed to be beiter for others who are going to be at the meal.
But I thought you're not supposed to do bar was also on Shabbos.
If you're doing it right before the meal,
Even take it away from the.
No, taking away the oichel from the psilus, and without a keli, with your hand, you still have to do it right before the meal. You always have three conditions. Oichel from the psilus, no keli, has to be with the yad, and you have to do it la'alter. 3 tanoim.
But when you say no keli, you mean keli specific to that type of job, but you do it with another keli.
You can do a spoon or a fork, which are not kli breda. But with a kli for breda, it's a problem.
Like you're allowed to open up a walnut with a hammer, but not with a walnut pressure. A hammer by itself is musa, but you're allowed to use it to open up the
Right.
walnut.
Right, yeah. There it's just cracking it open. I don't know if that's a problem, just cracking it open. Saying just to crack it open, I don't know if that's a kli biter. I don't think it's a kli biter, the nutcracker.
But a tool that's made specific for that.
In a Hanami, what's the issue of cracking it? I don't see any issue of
No,
cracking.
it's the tool.
What's the tool? But what's the?
It's called professional tool. You can't use a
Do
professional.
you know the minig is not to allow it?
My Rav said it's the halacha.
Your Rav said not to use it.
You
Okay.
can't use anything.
I have to look. I have to look into it. It's hard to understand why it should be usher. I have to look into it. You're not doing anything wrong. I don't know. I'm not saying a psak because I didn't look into it. So don't quote me, please. But in Svara, I'm not sure why it would be usher. If you did a lot of bayr for your soda, Lapoil, there was leftover bayr that you didn't need for the meal. You did it beheter. I did it because I wanted to eat it for this meal. What should I do? It's leftovers. Not everyone ate everything. It's okay. However, you're not allowed to play shtick. Oh, you'll say, I'm doing it for the meal, I'm making extra, and I'll have also for shalosh shuddis. Can't do that. You have to be bayr taka what you need only for this meal. You can't do harama for shtick. So now we concluded the basic three ideas of bayr. Now I want to add in over here. When the Sif Gimel, the Alter Rebbe writes that if you did it for over an hour, you did bayr for over a shah, or it's a problem. The Iglei Tal, the Avinezer, the Sachet Shavar Rebbe, he and his Iglei Tal, he writes that he not based Tafkan Alter Rebbe, but the Lashon of the Acher Shah comes from earlier Paskim, from the Hagoyis Mardchai, one of the Rishonim, and he feels that the word Shah is literal. It means an hour. It means that you have up to an hour before the meal to do it. This is what the Iglei Tal explains. So even if my item only, according to him, would come out, even if the item only took a half hour to clean it, I still won't be allowed to do it an hour before because I have up to an hour before. Not everyone understands this way, and his shita doesn't seem to be the simple literal understanding of the paskim. Most paskim seem to understand that la'achar shah over here doesn't mean literally an hour. La'achar shah means after some time. Shah doesn't always mean literally an hour, 60-minute hour, or a halachic hour, shah is manias. A shah means a certain amount of time. We see that the Magen Avram and the Alter Rebbe in a later siman, they write that when you do bayr, it should be done. The bayr preparation for the meal should be done after the men leave shul. After they leave shul to come home, if finishing shul and they're leaving home, then the women could start doing bayr. They could start preparing the bayr. We're talking again only when you're taking the oichel, but you still have to have the condition of la'alter right away. So what is la'alter definition? La'alter la'achar yitzim beis haknesses. It doesn't say an hour. It doesn't take an hour to walk from the beis haknesses home. It's not talucha. They're just walking to home from the shul to the house. So it's clear for many poskim, not like the Iglei Tal, that hein l'kola v'hein l'chumra, that we don't go by the shear of an hour. We go by, you do whatever time it takes you. If it takes you a half hour, not more than a half hour before the meal. If it takes you an hour and a half because you're having a big Sheva Brachas, if it takes you an hour and a half, it's okay. But you can't do bayr. Many women think, okay, let me make all the preparations with the salads and I'll do it 2 hours before the meal. And then I'll have a break. I'll be able to relax, be able to read a book, go schmooze with the neighbor, take a walk. The problem. Borer needs to be done la'alter samach to the suda mamash. You have to leave off. You want to set the table, you can set the table. They could do a lot of things, clean up the place. But borer aspects of it, as well, not in this simon, but another malach of toichin, chopping the vegetables, you're chopping it's very small, that also has to be left right before the meal. Before the meal, how much time is needed? You need 50 minutes, 50 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever time you need for it to be done. That's how much time, but it should be done samach for the suda.
But if you chop with a knife, we're talking about that. That's not called butter.
No,
That's called a chana.
no, it's called toichin. Chopping, grinding, like chopping the small.
Right. So that shouldn't be a problem. So
That's right.
that's not.
It's not mitzad borer. I just was saying that besides for the borer, you also have, when you're preparing the salads, you can get into the shaila malach of toichin if you're dicing them small. So that you have to do samach to the also la'alter samach to the suda.
Right. But if you do it with a knife, it doesn't make a difference how small you make it.
No.
You're not using a grater. See, the grater is made for this. If you're using something else, let's say you want to mash onion and garlic. I mean, radish and an egg. You can't do that with a grater in Shabbos. That's made for. But if you use a fork, then that's mutter.
But that
Because
also,
that's not a full made for it. That was the example I gave with the.
what do you want to mash? Eggs.
Yeah, you can't use a masher because it's made for that. You can use something else.
You have to prepare these things before the suda. Before the suda. Sometimes mashing something does not constitute toichin, because let's say you're mashing a potato or an avocado, not necessarily toichin, because it's all one piece. You're not separating it to do different pieces. You're just mushing it, softening it. Softening it is not an issue of toichin. So what needs to, when you're taking, let's say you're making Israeli salad, you're chopping the vegetables very small, so then there's an isser of a toichin dag, very small, not clear exactly how small it is. So if you make them larger pieces,
No problem.
not a problem. You don't need to do it samach to the suda. But if you're doing dicing very small, you need to do samach to the suda. That's because of a separate isser, separate malach of toichin, which is not the subject of the simon. I'm just mentioning toichin because toichin has a similar idea to borer, that they both need to be done la'alter, right before the suda. If it's tiny, what you're dicing.
You heard yourself from Rav that the size that if you do it, it's the size of hot cheese, not smaller than that. I think he quoted Rav Moshe
What was the lashon?
that the size when you're dicing, it shouldn't be smaller than the size of pot cheese. You know, it comes like the size of balls in the when you buy pot cheese.
What's pot cheese?
Small.
No. They sell them in containers. You have old pot tea, it comes in containers.
What little pieces?
Yeah, there's California.
It's shredded. What's shredded? What is it?
Not shredded.
It's like dice size.
Yeah, it's cream. You know, it's cottage cheese. So different types of cottage cheese. There's cream cottage cheese. There's pot cheese, California style. So pot cheese something like ball size, like the size of popcorn. You know, after it's popped. So it said that's basically the size. That's, you know, no problem.
Okay, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know exactly the size. You say it's the size of popcorn. It can make sense that that's not considered dak. You small, like you know, you have sometimes you go to you have Israeli salad. You can have it diced very thin, and you can have the big pieces. Big pieces are not a problem. The Shabur writes in his Bir Halacha that you have to be careful because it's not always so clear what's large, you know. You have to do until you feel it's definitely not considered toichin. Definitely large enough.
I believe it means each person's
interpretation. Yeah, each person's. These shiurei chazal are sometimes difficult to put into measurements. You know, shiurei chazal. It's not always so easy to say exactly where's the line.
What's a kabetza?
Actually, it's a Safek Milibre. In Mitzvah Hashem, I have to go to Ma'ariv, and in Mitzvah Hashem, we have a minyan.
Yeah, we have 10 exactly.
So next week, in Mitzvah Hashem, we will be Mamshich, the halachas of Hilchos Borer.
Thank you.
Shakai, thank you everyone for joining on Zoom. Shakai Chabay Davis. Thank you for joining.
Would that be nice?
Yeah. Oh.